For Chinese participants, advantages are still associated with thematic structure, particularly in terms of error rate. So why is that? Why the cognitive styles are so different? To refresh your memory, we talked about different cognitive styles. Does different cognitive style mean different decision-making process? Well, in another study, it was found Chinese tend to include other people's intention into their own decision-making process. Actually, you can describe this as holistic cognitive style. When we say holistic cognitive style means people tend to use contextual information. People try to perceive information, including other people's intention, into their own decision-making process. In a similar setting, in a similar situation, Chinese people consider, does that person has a good intention? Why he say so? What is this person's purpose? But in that case, in that study, Germans didn't ask so many questions. Germans think, do I need this product? Do I need this information? Is this information useful to me or not? When making decisions with Chinese, not just their intention, also the language. So we want to ask, what is their native language, Chinese or not? A current study has shown when people make decisions using native language, they tend to be a little bit more emotional, relying on their past experiences. But if people use second language, like for Chinese, English is a second language. Again, when people use the second language to make decisions, to negotiate, to bargain, they tend to be more rational. Why? When we learn the second language, we learn by grammars instead of experience. When we learn our first native language, we don't learn grammars first. We learn by listening. We just pick up based on our experience. Actually, earlier, back to 1986, a study has shown the Chinese cognitive style and specified major factors shaping Chinese cognitive style during development when people learn language. The family order, the Chinese education system, and the nature of the Chinese language can influence Chinese decision making. And in a later study in year 2004, the responses of Chinese were more relational when tested in Chinese than when tested in English. Again, when people use different language, people use brain in a different way. For Chinese people, when they use Chinese, the family order, the Chinese education system, the nature of the Chinese language, all experiences can influence the decision making. But second language is very different. Many Chinese people speak English. Most people learn second language by learning vocabulary, by learning grammars. Like if you're learning Chinese, instead of spelling, you learn how to write Chinese characters, and you learn the grammar. And when you communicate in the second language, your cognitive style can be different. And one more difference is how people attribute the cause of success and failures. People in different cultures may have different tendencies to explain the cause of success and failures differently. A previous study on Chinese sportsmen showed Chinese sportsmen tend to explain the cause of success and failures on themselves. Meaning, if they do very well, they say, because I work hard, I try my very best, so I have very good performance. If they don't perform very well, they say, I need to do a better job. I need to try harder. That's my responsibility. But these may be biased, meaning sometimes some people are not just so lucky. So there are things beyond their control, even they work very hard. Another study also showed Korean managers tend to explain their cause of success and failures on themselves. If the performance not very well, they say, I need to work harder. It's my responsibility. I understand. There's something beyond my control. There's some global issue or some regional issue beyond my control. But if I try harder, we can do a better job. But again, this can be biased because those global issues, those regional issues can be very, very difficult to conquer. A friend of mine working in Google who studied users in Asia confirmed this difference with me. According to his experience, he was in Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. He observed, in general, Koreans, Japanese, Taiwanese, they tend to attribute their failures and success more to internal and controllable factors, such as efforts. And actually, this morning, I just read a paper study how Asian Americans perform very well in schools. Again, because of internal and controllable factors like efforts, not because of their intelligence. Sometimes, even when the cause of poor performance was very, very clearly external, like bad weather for athletes, for sportsmen, people in these regions still tend to explain the failures on internal and controllable factors like efforts. Again, if I work harder, I'll make a difference, regardless of external reasons.